Now, LifeAdministration.com presents the Life Administration Podcast. Here are your hosts, Leslie Loftus and Ryan Taylor.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Life Administration Podcast. My name is Ryan Taylor, and with me, as always, is Leslie Loftus.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Leslie. What has changed in the last 6 minutes?
Nothing except we've gotten to probably my favorite, the one episode that I'm looking particularly forward to doing. I mean, not just because I'm a Mr. Rogers fan.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's funny because, like, I think about my childhood and, like, the two shows, I think actually 3 shows, but they were all on PBS. There was obviously Sesame Street. And I always felt like I had to slog through Sesame Street so I could get to Mr. Rogers. And then after Mr. Rogers, there was some math show, but it didn't last all that long. But it was kind of science, and it was cool. But there was always this general...
It was the 70s. It was the Electric Company with Morgan Freeman.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah. No. There were some names on the Electric Company, let me tell you.
I don't think I ever saw that. I think I caught Mr. Rogers at like the end of the run. I think.
Stick Morgan Freeman singing and dancing in the Electric Company in the show notes.
Okay.
It is worth a viewing.
Okay, there's a treat for everyone. So I remember just there was this feeling of consistency, of warmth that I got from him. You know, like that resonated through the television screen. And honestly, like, I don't know if it's ever been done since then. Like,
no,
I don't
not
know.
That way.
I don't know. So really excited.
Well, and they didn't want him to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
I also have a bit of a bone to pick here in the thing because it's been a year now, 2 years. I think it was just last summer that the Mr. Rogers movie, the documentary came out, Won't You Be My Neighbor? And it did not get any Oscar nomination. The Oscars have been dead to me for a long while, but, you know, this was the last nail. Go ahead and stick it 6 feet under and then, you know, put it in the ocean.
Nothing can bring it back for you.
Nothing can bring it. It was such a good show. Mm-hmm. Both the television show and the documentary, but he wasn't supposed to, like, the formula that he did wasn't supposed to work. And it not only worked, it left an endearing legacy that we're now using some of the vocabulary to try and recreate some of the community that we've lost, which is what this episode is about.
I would encourage anyone just to Google Mr. Rogers quotes. You will be blown away at the things that this man said, how delicately he put the most complex, dealt with racism, divorce,
because he
people dying.
He didn't sugarcoat it or hide it from kids.
Nope.
But he explained it in terms that they could grapple with, and that's a gift that not everybody. Yeah. And I mean, usually our instinct is just to go ahead and hide all of this stuff from kids, and he's like, no, you sell them short to hide it from them.
And I think also too what he had very early on, and I think people in production, and something that you and I talk about all the time, is like being authentic, right? Like, let's just show people who we actually are, right? And like, either they're gonna like us or they're not gonna like us, and that's okay. Like one way or the other.
Your friends don't need it. Your enemies won't believe it. Yeah.
Yep. So I think that ultimately he was authentic in a time period where you weren't supposed to be authentic. It was all about the show. It was about the production. It was about the glitz and the glam, you know, and here's a guy that's walking in with sneakers and a cardigan on.
The cardigan that his mother made.
Yeah,
you know, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Taking off loafers and putting on Keds.
So, in a way, this episode is almost like a love letter to him. And honestly, like, I saw a little side-by-side clip of Tom Hanks playing Mr. Rogers in an upcoming, and I am so excited.
I'm so ready to go see it. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I don't know if I would buy anybody except Tom Hanks playing that role for whatever reason. Like, there's something about Tom Hanks and the way that he carries himself, and the little snippets I've seen here and there that you're just like, I can believe, you know. So I'm excited. Anyway, episode 9, Won't You Be My Neighbor? I think really one of the reasons that we're talking about this. So let me give you a little bit of my experience. Okay. Let me back up for a second. So I couldn't tell you, and this is a dig at myself. I don't know my neighbors on the right side of me. I don't know. I know the neighbor on the left side of me, but she's and her daughter, they're moving. I've had brief conversations with other neighbors, but I mean, if I was in crisis, they're not the people I'm going to.
Right. And by the way, everyone, he lives in the suburbs. Where
I do.
This is supposed
It's
like
supposed
that's
to
what,
be like this.
Right. People move to the suburbs in order to have.
Yeah, and honestly, it's my own fault. I haven't done anything to engage like the people around me or anything like that. So I need to get better at this. And the worst part about it is I know what I'm supposed to do, but I felt for a long time that I didn't have time or I had better things to do. Like why do I have to be nice to the people that just happen to live next to me? You know what I mean? Like, oh, we just happen to buy houses next to each other and now we have to like hang out.
Heard that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's sort of my little diatribe on where I'm sort of coming from. I want to fix it because I'm at the stage in my life where I want my little girl to be playing with like other kids in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to feel safe. I want to feel safe. I want to know like the names of the people that are around me. When Halloween comes, I want to be able to trick or treat.
We used to all play out on the street, and we would know which set of kids was being called in by which. Like there was one dad that did a wolf whistle, one mom that had a bell. You know, so there were just different sounds all along the block that said, "All right, the Lambs have to go, the Tanners have to go." You know.
Yep. And oh, by the way, like that's how it was at my house too. I mean, we were all playing on the street. All the like all of my friends, we were all kids on the same street. But yet somewhere along the line, like I think society in general has just lost that. They haven't made it something to really engage upon. So
well, we can hit the history lesson in a bit.
Yeah.
Or if you want to, then just ping me for that, and I can do a little bit of the history lesson.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're looking to change.
But mostly, we're looking to fix it.
Yeah, we're looking to fix it, right? Like, because that's what our podcast is all about. It's like we don't really like to talk about problems as much as we like to fix them.
Right.
So, in any case, give us a little bit about why we're talking about this, why this is important, and all that sort of stuff. Kind of set the table for us, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I have two stories that come to mind. One was we had, goodness gracious, I think we were still in London at the time when the volcano in Iceland erupted. And it shut down all the air traffic around. And I remember one of our friends was going to his brother's wedding in New York. Okay, and London, New York is a 4-hour flight. I mean, these days with modern technology, you're like, oh, it's only 4 hours away. I mean, I can drive to Austin or Dallas in about that time. You know, it just living in the expat community in London where everything was, you know, all sorts of family was 4, 5, 6 hours away. This was just normal. This was basic. But the volcano shut it all. There was no option. The man missed his brother's wedding because we were so far away. Then a few years later, we'd moved back, and I'm sure everybody's heard about the big floods we had in Houston 2 years ago after Hurricane Harvey. I can tell you were an island in your neighborhood. I know. We actually stayed dry. Most of our streets stayed dry. But, you know, there was all sorts of stuff flooded. When the floodwaters came in, 400 yards sometimes was 400 miles. You just couldn't get. So suddenly, you know, when crisis came, in both of those cases, just, you know, some random acts of Mother Nature made it so the only the people you were around, the people who were your neighbors, they were the ones that you could reach. And we have completely, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard some version of, why do I need to worry about getting to know so-and-so who just happens to live in my building, happens to live on my block, when I can stay connected with, you know, this friend that I've got in Australia, even though I'm in Spain, you know, because technology makes it feel like we are so close together. But the fact is, technology is not 100% reliable, A, and B, sometimes you need an actual touch, sometimes you need an actual hand, actual eye contact, and that happens in your neighborhood. That happens in your community. Also, I have a bit of a pet peeve about focusing so much on national and international issues that we forget about the spaces where we actually live. That'll be a little bit more in the civic section, but you can't really be a responsible citizen until you start to get involved in your neighborhood. So that's why we're talking. I mean, this is just, there's one more building block under this, which is family, but your neighborhood and your community, your immediate community, this is where all of the stuff gets done, where you stop talking about things and you actually do them. And when you need, when you need the ride to the hospital, or when you need the butter or the eggs, or, oh my gosh, I'm stuck in traffic and my children get home from the bus and I need somebody to just catch the bus. It's your neighbors. It's not your mom across town.
No, it sure isn't. And usually I found, especially when I was younger, I'm sort of drawing upon like the experience of getting picked up off the bus by Paul Berman's mom. Like that's like the woman that she lives 6 or 7 houses down. But she was like, when there was a problem, because she was
the catch-all. Yeah, she was the free safety.
Yeah, exactly. She was the free safety because my parents were split up. My mom was working. And there were times that she couldn't. Right, so I would go to Paul's house, and I don't have a Paul Berman's mom right now. Like, and I have a daughter, and I need one. Honestly. So,
it's part of the reason that people are going insane in parenthood and feeling completely crushed by it, because we don't have any break outlet. Because also with our neighbors, we can be, something different besides just wife and mother, or husband and father.
Yes.
And I used to, when we were growing up, or in my first house before my brother came along, the lady next door, she liked to knit and crochet. So she used to make me, and she had this cool, like, seat stool kind of thing, and that's where she kept all of her stuff. So I would go over there sometimes, and I was only there maybe for 30 minutes or so at a time, but it's probably 30 minutes of sanity saving time for my mother. And she would tell me, what colors do you want? And then the next day I'd go over there and she'd have some curly Q ribbon, and I was 4. I thought it was fabulous.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And I felt independent. But I was going 20 feet away.
Which is a whole nother thing, right? Because we haven't, we're helicopter parents and the whole thing, so.
It all happen. It all starts in the neighborhood and the community.
Absolutely. So, okay. We have, I'm going to assume that most of us that are listening, like, we just didn't buy a house and we just didn't move in, right? That we've been there, that we're relatively established in our neighborhood. So, what are some of the things that we can do to start engaging our neighbors that don't make us come off like creeps? Because I think that's a fear that some of us have,
Yes. Well, like, one of the suggestions I have is, like, say you're moving into a new neighborhood. And it used to be there would be a greeting committee in the neighborhood, and, they would show up with, oh, here's the neighborhood directory, and here, by the way, is a basket of cookies from the 2 ladies next door, whatever else. But, just a little bit of, hi, how are you? Welcome to the neighborhood. I've not heard much of that happening anymore. I've certainly not seen it. So I'm suggesting, the only behavior we can control is our own. So, A, if you're in a neighborhood and somebody moves in, do that. B, if you are the person moving in, then go ahead and take the initiative and maybe knock on your neighbor's door and say, hey, is there a with a hello, hi, I'm new, just wondering, is there a directory or any, or something, ask something about the trash. But the creep factor does play, because nobody's used to this anymore. Right. So you have to so I would say keep it to 2 questions and really short, and don't go in all this kind of stuff. Make it, I'm sorry, we're running right now, but would love to have you over for coffee, something, whatever it is. But try to make it short and quick, but something to just say, oh, hey, I'm here, or hey, you're here, welcome. Make a little bit of contact. One of the big ones, though, and this is particularly easy for people with dogs, but dogs will come in and say, take a walk. Take a walk, and take a walk at the time. If you have a dog, well, you'll be walking the dog. If you don't have a dog, take a walk at the time that people are walking their dogs. And just, make some eye contact, wave, if the opening comes to talk, oh yeah, hey, we just moved in over here. Hello, welcome, and move on. So first contact should be relatively quick. We're talking about a minute or 2 tops. And because you don't want to come off as creepy.
Yeah.
And we don't have the tolerance for this. We don't have the expectation of this anymore. So you got to kind of ease back into it.
My two, as I was reading through the show notes, two things came to mind. It's good to enter. So people have this fear of when you meet somebody new that you don't want to get, and I'm using air quotes here, like stuck speaking to them. I think it's really good to start off a conversation with, I have a time constraint. So that means something like, hey, I was just out the way. I'm going to X, Y, and Z. I just want to stop by and say hi. Welcome to the neighborhood. Da 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 da. And you're out. Gone,
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So that's
First contact should be,
Yep.
and setting an expectation of, right? Because then sometimes you can get in a spiral, and the next thing you know, you've been there for 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and both of you think the other's creepy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like, you don't want that. That's not what you want.
Right.
Like, you want that first interaction to be as great as it possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And you can make a great first impression within 1 to 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Eye contact,
yep,
handshake.
Yep. And
name.
if you got some cookies, great. If not, no
Right.
big deal. If you have kids, and this is one I'm actually pulling from you a couple years ago. Alex and Parker did a lemonade stand.
Yes.
And so if you have kids, like, kids will come to the lemonade stand, neighbors will come, even people you've never met will
Absolutely.
come and sit and chat, right? And
Yes.
the one thing that you have in common is you got this lemonade stand, right? And so for me, like, my daughter loves to play store. So now all of a sudden I'm thinking, like, why even play store when we could just go out and do it and
Right.
also meet our neighbors, right? And you just never know who you're going to meet. You know, you never know who's going to be placed in front of your path.
Exactly.
You never know, like, the next conversation could completely change your life. You know what I mean? Like, I had no idea that when I signed up to do music lessons for your kids, that we would be sitting here 3.5, 4 years later with these microphones and all these cameras and all this. And, like, this is now what we're doing. Like, we've developed this relationship, right? Like, it's just so incredible. And I'm so thankful
And it
for
took a long time to, like, peel off
Yeah,
the layers of,
absolutely.
like, oh, well, wait, you do that?
this?
Well, actually, I'm looking for somebody who does
Yeah.
that. You know, yeah.
And so you just don't know. And so you're opening yourself up to countless possibilities that weren't there before. So to not be engaging your community and your neighbors around you is actively, like, limiting.
Yes.
And so, I mean, yes, like, you need someone hands-on, eye contact sometimes, right? But, like, if someone's living right next to you and say they are whatever and you want to get into that whatever field, like, they could help
Oh,
you,
yeah.
right?
There
Whatever.
could be
So-
art. Or you're looking for, you know, I've heard tons of people talking about they don't know where to go to meet anybody in the romantic partnership. Well, I'm not necessarily saying that that's your neighbor, but who no well, okay, so maybe you do meet the gal who lives in the apartment across the hall from you. Well, that's great. And then one night she says, hey, you know, there's a couple of us getting together. We're just going to go to the movies. And so you go to the movies, and then while you're out to dinner before the movie, more interaction, just go use the neighbors that you've got and
Yes.
build those relationships.
Don't date your neighbors.
No,
Don't do it.
don't date your
Don't
neighbors.
date your neighbors. Because, like, yeah, it's probably not going to end well.
Exactly.
Right.
I get
My
that,
dad
but what I
used to
mean
say,
is
"Don't
that
poo-poo where
have
you eat."
have be open to meeting new people, getting out,
Right.
that sort of thing.
Right. And it's more of a you thing than it is a them thing. Like,
Right.
you're the one. So if you make the first step, typically they'll follow.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
And besides, your behavior is the only behavior you can
you can
actually
that you can
control.
control.
And since we're at a stage in our society where we need to rebuild these neighborhood and communities and the instinct to form them, that's you.
Yep.
You know, that means that you need to, you know, make eye contact with the postman and find out your post lady's name and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So we got a little bit of an idea of, like, okay, here's how we're going
Right.
to connect with our neighbors and stuff. So
Oh, the other one is
go ahead.
along the lines with your lemonade stand of sometimes just sit outside.
yes.
You know, if you happen to be moving it and you got a big oak tree in the front yard, stick a little swing out there and just sit outside and see who walks by.
There is
Obviously not in the middle of the heat of the day, you know.
Yeah.
Dog walking time. Again, dog walking time is prime.
there is it's like a website or an organization or something, but it's called Turquoise Table. And basically, like, this is what they do, is that if you set up a turquoise table, like, it's just a place that people are welcome to gather and talk and hang out, and people do it in their front yard. So if what we gave you today wasn't enough to sort of kick that off, I would encourage you to, like, Google turquoise table and, you know, neighbors, and I'm sure, like, they'll come up, guaranteed. But they'll give you a couple more strategies to kind of get that going. But hopefully we've given you enough here. Yeah. So
sorry, and I derailed you.
Yeah. We're off the rails. Okay, so Party 101. Woo!
Woohoo! All right, I'm a big one.
I hate throwing parties, by the way.
I know lots of people do, but I'm sorry, throwing parties is a fabulous way to get to know your neighbors. Now, they don't have to be complicated. We have this idea that parties are supposed to be perfect, and you see all the pictures on Pinterest. Sorry, I'm not supposed to do my P's like that again. I'm getting used to the boom mic.
You don't have to whisper. You just can't go.
Got it. Ryan is also a singer. I am not, so I am not used to dealing with mics at all. He is totally used to dealing with mics. So anyway, parties don't need to be difficult. We don't have to follow this idea of Pinterest perfect. And I know they look great. In my day, it was the Martha Stewart stuff. Looks fabulous. So very complicated. I think we also do a lot of this with kids' birthday parties or even young adults' birthday parties. We have this idea that they should be crazy and fancy and very intricate. First of all, for the under 3 set, a kid's birthday party isn't an invitation for the adults to come over and have cocktails, and you have a few kids and some cupcakes and maybe some balloons or, you know, whatever kid appropriate activity you have come up with. That's it. It's really an excuse for the adults to gather. The kids will have fun regardless, because the kids, I mean, I don't know about you. My parents used to throw parties. My husband's parents, our favorite times were when we would have a big group of people. Oh gosh, I loved those nights. It was so much fun.
Sounds awful.
You're not helping.
No, I mean, for me, because it's like I get wrapped up in sort of the execution of the party, like what you just said. And not so much from the standpoint of posting it on social media. I don't mean posting it on social media. I mean, you see the pictures on social media. Yeah. That makes you think that that's the standard for having a cocktail party. No, it's not. Yeah, but for me, it's like, oh, the planning and then the cleanup and then, you know, and it's all of these things. And honestly, it just speaks to like what I'm sort of working on right now in general, right, in the whole life admin area.
Because yes, right now, if you don't even have a filing system in place, you know how I like to harp on the filing system. I'm sorry, paperwork can drown you.
Yep.
So let's say you don't have a filing system in place, and so you've got papers piled up all over your dining room table and all over your kitchen desk, you know, the area that was supposed to be. Okay, so then part of any party planning you deal with first has to mentally deal with those stacks of paper, even if you were just gathering them to hide them in a closet, remembering how you gathered them and putting them back when they come. Just that, like, so all of this other life administration is in part so that we can, well, like we talked about in the last episode with having preparing for a baby, so that you can have a budget that's able to adapt to that, so that you can actually work on, because if you're so drowning in life administration and paperwork, you don't have time to do any of this other stuff.
Yeah, I would say if your first thought, like mine, is like, I have to get that house ready, pump the brakes, go back to episode 1. No, I'm just kidding.
Right? No, but that's a very, very true thing, and a lot of people. But so you end up, your paperwork and your lack of life administration ends up then ruling your life, because the reason that you're not engaging with your neighbors is ultimately because you don't have all of these, you know, details, these background details sorted, and it's like, oh, and then I'd have to sort that out, so I'm just not going to bother. That's a depressing thought.
It is. I think a lot of people
but I think it's totally normal, and it's typical and common, and there's the buzz again that we just don't know where. We don't know what
Mike's
it goes
wouldn't even have picked it up if you didn't say anything. I mean, it's like you're killing me, Smalls. I digress. So, so birthday party mission creep.
Right. And that's what I mean, is that we think that, oh, okay, these birthday parties, they have to be spectacular. And so then they have to have these favors and these balloons and this entertainer. And, so the birthday parties have to be complicated and difficult. Okay. All you have to do is throw one of those before you're like, oh no. I'm not doing this any more than I possibly have to. Because when you have a complicated party, setup is difficult, cleanup is difficult, the expense is surprising. All of a sudden, you're only spending, $5. Oh, it's only $5 for a little goodie bag, but you invited 20 kids. Well, suddenly that's a small chunk of change. And then some of them are going to leave them behind, and then the other one gets broken. And can I take one for the little sister? And and you're like, oh my gosh, I never want to do that again. And then you realize that you're going to have to do it at the next birthday party anyway. So you save up all of your party preparation fuel for just those and that's birthday party mission creep, where it just, and you're not,
and it's really any party mission creep, really, more than any, right? It's just
but those are the ones that come each year, and those are the ones that have a bit more pressure because the other kids are doing it this way, and you think that you need to follow those parents. Because, by the way, when we're talking about, like, say, under 6, the kids don't notice.
Right.
The kids this is not about, well, they want to have the fancy party like this. Or even if they do say that after, I want to have a party just like Jimmy Sue, as they're walking out of the, Speedway Racer party or whatever, give it a week, they might have forgotten about it. So even kid pressure is not, it's really parent pressure.
Yep.
It's really parent pressure. Absolutely. And then it creates this unreasonable expectation about how much work a general party, because throwing a cocktail party, there are all sorts of strategies for doing really basic, I mean, you've been around here enough. My favorite party planning, or my party setting, is I'm the house.
Yes.
How many times have you seen me do that for our church? I'm the house. The church is coming in. I've provided the clean space.
Yep. The next point that you talk about is the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, right? I think when I saw that, really what that means to me, and this is more of an overarching sort of thought, is the setting matters less, the things matter less, the people matter the most. Right.
You're gathering people in your backyard, in your front yard, in your home, in your cul-de-sac. Maybe you're doing a block party. I'm not sure. That's like the important part is that the people are gathering. The details of keep that simple, for goodness sake. And especially the more casual you get, then send an email or knock on it. Like, let's say you have decided that you just want to have a neighborhood shindig.
Sure.
Knock on a few, or put a little flyer in each mailbox. Email if you have it, and just say, hey, potluck at ours on Thursday night at 7 or whatever. So people help you cook. Or my personal favorite strategy is to have, I like to do this in the fall, is to have chili night or Oktoberfest. Really easy to get a variety of sausage, stick them on the grill. You got a few mustards and sauces to stick out.
Done.
Maybe slice up some, crudité, so some vegetables, just so it's not just all meat. Done.
Yeah.
Done. That's not actually that complicated cleanup. That's not terribly expensive, especially then if you maybe slice them up so that they're individual, so that you eat them with toothpicks. You don't have that many serving utensils. You don't. Keep it as simple as possible. One pot meals, chili nights. I love doing chili nights. You make 2 big pots of chili. You make a regular chili. You make a veggie chili. You put a few fixins out, and then everybody has a bowl and a spoon.
If somebody came to my house and they go, "Oh, I don't eat chili with beans," I would tell them to leave, though. Just get out. just like I don't want you at my party. As a matter of fact, you have to leave the neighborhood. You've been excommunicated.
You cannot do that. Nope.
Okay, so. I think it's important, and again, I'm just kind of like looking at, because you got some really good notes about this, and like start small.
Yes.
Right? Like you don't it doesn't have to be, right, this big, huge, unbelievable thing.
Right. Start with your 2 next door neighbors, or if you're on a small, like the block that we're on now just has 4 houses on it. Invite the 4 of those over. So whatever your block.
What about, Sean and I were at a party recently where they cooked in the front yard.
Love those.
And so
And
I
those kinda
actually
come-
really because it was like, this is where the party is.
Yes.
Right? It's like you don't have to traverse into someone's house that maybe you've only met a few times.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go into their backyard. It was like,
If you're walking your dog, you might just walk up and
You
say,
might just
"Am I
stop.
welcome? I'm just on the next block."
yeah,
Ding.
come on over, man. And
Love
when I
those.
saw that, I was, this is so good. I just absolutely love that. So I would encourage people, if you're gonna do any kind of grilling or it's like an outdoors, like get in
Roll
front
your
of it.
roll your grill out into the front yard. Yeah.
Get out in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so we talked about one pot meals. Okay, so what about like there are some boxes that you have to check, like as we're calling it casual or whatever,
Right.
but like at the end of the day, if someone's got to go poo poo and you got no toilet, you got no TP.
You need to make sure that's actually the biggest one. Make sure that your bathrooms are cleaned and stocked.
Maybe because that's happened to me before.
Yeah, no. At my house.
No.
Sorry, I even have fail safes on. There are 2 children that are assigned to check the bathrooms. I actually check them myself.
No, but I have been in at other places where you
run out of toilet
you're
paper. Okay,
thinking,
yes.
This is going to be
Right.
a messy
So
situation.
one of
gotta
the
deal with it.
big must-dos before you have a party, make sure your downstairs guest bathrooms are in functional working order and have plenty of toilet paper and towel options, soap, that sort of thing. Make sure they're clean and tidy. And those need to actually be clean, because here's a secret. This is one my aunt actually taught me. Tidy, so let's say you're going to have a party downstairs. You're going to be in the family room, kitchen area and stuff like that. Tidy. By all, make it so that people can sit down and that there's places to put drinks and stuff like that. I've been to parties before where the side tables and the coffee tables are so overflowing with that you're kind of sitting here holding your drink and there's nowhere to put it because it's all covered with very beautiful things, but not very not very conducive to partying. So tidy those spaces. But she's, Aunt Eula was like, why in the world would you sweep or clean the floor before you have a party? Clean after.
Right.
I'm like, dang it.
Because you're just going to clean it again?
Right. You're just going to clean it again. Like, now, obviously, if it's gross, that's different. But if we're just talking about, you haven't vacuumed it since Tuesday and it's now Friday, oh, goodness gracious. You don't need to have the house pristine before you have to have people come in. You need to have the house tidy. Clean is something else. The bathrooms have to be tidy and clean. The kitchen also needs to be clean.
I just thought of something.
Yes.
So we've all been to a Thanksgiving where somebody brings up politics, religion, things like that. Now, I could see that being very, very bad for a party, especially with these people that you don't necessarily know. And I don't know if this is the right way to go about it, so I'm more asking than anything else. Is that maybe something on the invite that you put? Or
No,
Okay,
because
okay.
at this point there are some rules of etiquette that still hold, and Thanksgiving's a little different because you're around family and people are a little more. But we have an etiquette issue,
Episode about etiquette.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very good. That was lots of ease. That's coming up, and we will go. But one of the things that has held better, at least, is that kind of conversation. While people might be very willing to do it at a family gathering, less willing to do it at and if they are, because I've had it happen, it usually comes after alcohol, and you just kind of got to play through. But usually the person that's being bombastic and bringing up the controversial subjects and trying to be provocative, that person is usually the one that ends up getting the, oh, they're being rude kind of aura about them. There's not much you can, rudeness happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are rude. You can kind of make a mental note of it, and maybe, you invite them to a smaller thing or not the same thing, you might have guests that when you get up to the stage where I am, where you're throwing lots of parties all the time, there are certain guests that you don't necessarily mix together. You learn these things.
I like to fake an injury. I'm not saying like break my arm, but like a stubbing of the toe that can derail a conversation very quickly.
Oh, that is a clever.
Mean?
Yes.
Just like and just something that's kind of shocking, that it's abrupt, that like requires immediate attention, that can
and
just
requires
like,
a look back up and break it off.
Right. So it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that, but just have something in your pocket. I mean, I just kind of came up with that on the fly, you know.
That's an excellent idea.
But just have something in your back pocket that says like, oh man, this person is like, 99% of the people here are amazing. This one person,
and that just happens. I mean, that's life.
Yeah. So so just know they don't get an invite to the next one. That's when the barbecue goes in the back. Hey, we don't want Joe Bob coming over.
Well, you can't say it like that. It just is done.
So what about some like quick decor things?
Honestly, the easiest thing I like to do, and this kind of ties in with the don't worry about cleaning thing, dim your lighting. Especially if you're doing dim your lighting, and then Christmas lights and or candles. Obviously, Christmas lights if you're doing littles, because maybe you don't want an open flame. Or there's now those electric lights; those are great. Fluff your pillows. Make things a bit. Dim your lights. I like to put out some fresh flowers, or if it's a birthday party and stuff, tried and true trick: blow up a bunch of balloons, scatter them on the floor.
Don't go crazy.
Something a little bit festive. Don't go crazy. There's just no reason to go crazy. As your kids get older, then they're going to want to do some of it themselves. So we've had, crepe paper curtains and stuff like that, but the girls did that. So, and that's all great and good. But if the reason that you're not throwing a party is because you think it's too complicated and oh my gosh, then really keep it simple. In which case, dim lights, candles are Christmas lights, flowers.
And really,
finished.
I sort of believe that the law of diminishing returns sort of applies. Like you do 1, 2, 3 things, and then after that, the juice doesn't become worth the squeeze anymore. Like you're not getting like this great, amazing ambiance because you did things 4, 5, 6, and 7. If you just did, I dimmed the lights, maybe put up some candles, I got some fresh cuts around, we're good.
Right. Now there will be times, so advanced partying is, maybe you do one of those, you do like to entertain. That is one of your gifts. And so you do eventually start throwing fancy parties and stuff. Well, now details 5, 6, 7, but now you've got tons of experience. I certainly would not start at weddings are crazy enough. Okay. Oh, that might be another reason why the decline, because everybody's doing weddings and then they kind of have this idea of that's what a party's like. No. Doesn't have to be that complicated at all. Some parties are that complicated after you have experience. If you were one of those people that wants to throw them, well, that's a different discussion altogether.
Right, we're talking about get the neighborhood
We're talking
together.
about getting the neighborhood together. You don't need any of the fancy stuff.
So we started this episode off sort of saying, like, I'm going to assume that you haven't moved. Like, you're like, this is where. But now, let's pretend it's time to move. There is we're selecting a new neighborhood. What's kind of our strategy for that? What should we do there?
Having just moved myself again 9 months ago. Quick story. So we moved to London when my eldest 2 children were 2 and 9 months old. And we lived in Chelsea, and it was very much a walkable village. The schools, I lived my life in about a 3-mile radius. We didn't have a car. I rarely had to even get on the tube or a taxi. I ran into the same people. My fishmonger was the same. He knew the kids. The guy at the coffee shop.
There's a term you don't hear every day. Fishmonger.
Yes. Everything's very special. Yeah, so you have, anyway. I ran into the same people back and forth. Parents have to drop off every once in a while. Would just, actually it was usually me. I was that American mom. And I'd declare, okay, second Tuesday of the month, we just all meet for coffee here. And all of the parents and nannies that were doing the drop off would just meet at coffee at this one place. In fact, so much interaction. Okay. I was moving home to Texas. Home. I'm native. Texas is a very friendly place. London is a very difficult place to get into. They don't make eye contact. So making friends was very difficult there. Once you made them, then you were fine. Okay, but that's not a problem. we moved into a close-in suburb where I did, in fact, have to drive everywhere. And Jim had to drive everywhere. Nothing was walking distance. I didn't appreciate what a mistake that was until we moved into... I mean, I had an idea and that's one of the reasons why we have moved into this house, because now we can walk to our neighborhood club, and the children can walk or bike to all the schools. The difference was just huge. So when you were considering a neighborhood, consider walkability for at least some aspect of your life. So for instance, in a city like Houston, walkability for everything is just not a lot of the Western cities, they're just not laid out like that because they had space. The reason that other places are walkable is because they had density imposed on them by, the ancient city foundations and oceans and mountains and all. Okay. So they're much denser, so you can walk to everything. In Western American cities, be able to walk to some aspect of your life, whether it's groceries and running errands, or one of your jobs, or the kids' school, or, a social place, like a club. Something needs to be in walking, because it's not just the exercise, because it is the exercise. It's not just, the convenience, because it is the convenience, but it's also then you're out and you're interacting with your neighbors, because if you're walking distance from, say, the schools, well, then your other neighbors are also walking distance from the school. So you're more likely to run into each other. There's just more friction, more running into each other in a good way. Mm-hmm. Consider walk. It's just huge.
I got a 30-second commercial break on this.
Yep.
So, my daughter and I, we love to go swimming.
Yep.
Our community pool, there's two of them. There's one that we can drive to, and there's one that we can walk to. I maybe 1 out of 10 times would want to go to the other pool just because it's a different change of scenery. But the reason that we go to the other pool is because she knows that we're going to go by somebody walking their dog. Uh-huh. So she can go up and pet the dog, right? We're going to walk by the park because that's where all of her friends are going to be, mm-hmm. right? So, at 3, she already has it programmed in her brain that she wants to go to this park or to this pool because of all these other things that are going to happen instead of...
On the way, before
we even get to the pool, right? And we're having community,
and I'm betting that,
fun.
The lady walking the dog that she expects to run in, probably the same lady 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. And now it's like we see a bunch of different people, right? So, and now when we're at the pool, they're I don't even pull my pool key out. They let us in because they know us, right? The lifeguard can't wait to see Hallie. She runs up and gives her a hug. It's a whole thing, So, I never even considered that. And now as you're saying it to me, I'm thinking wow, how lucky am I that I get to do this? It's
huge.
really,
and
it's really incredible.
You need to have one aspect of your life, because another, Sarah, the twins' friend who comes over a lot. Yeah. So, her mom just moved into a new place where she is biking distance to her job. Mm-hmm. Huge. Yeah. Huge. Oh, and there's also a small, little convenience shopping area, near them. So the girls can walk, to go get milk or something like that, at the store. She can bike to her job. It's been life-changing for them. Yeah. And better yet, they only moved 10 blocks. I mean, it's not.
And even you moved from one house to the other. I mean,
that
was
a mile and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, anything else on this topic? Any pressing issues? I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything.
If in doubt, think of, or just Google epidemic of loneliness. Yeah. If you think any of this is crazy, gosh, I don't want to throw a party, whatever it is, query epidemic of loneliness and see what you come up with.
That's a real thing.
This is important stuff.
It's a real thing. Mm-hmm. Well, with that being said, again, we're approaching the 45-minute mark. I want to cut it at 45 minutes. So thank you so much for joining us today, guys. It's a great topic. Leslie, where can they find you?
Usually on the website. There's email on the website, and I'll be in the comments. And I occasionally play on Twitter at Leslie Loftus TX. LESLIE LOFTISTX.
Nice. And you can find me at Ryan Talon, RyanTaillon. And please keep questions coming, keep topics coming. We're really interested to hear what y'all have to say. We're interested in feedback. We're really just interested in the community that is becoming the Life Administration podcast
Absolutely.
community. I think we're going to be starting to see a lot of different things. And so we're willing to talk about just about anything, I would say. So if you have questions,
He's not kidding.
Yeah, we'll answer them. You might not like the answer, but we'll answer them. Anyway, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye.